reconvene this meeting of the Williamsburg James City County School Board. And as we do, if I can have a motion to certify closed session, please.
I certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, the Williamsburg James City County School Board, while in closed session, discussed only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements as stated in Virginia law, and that only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you. Dr. Beers, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Ms. Cook?
Mr. Chair, I will abstain from this because I was not in both closed sessions today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Ms. Aller?
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Ms. Cook.
Abstain.
Ms. Hummel.
Aye.
Mrs. Henley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortego. Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Mr. Dowell.
Aye. And Ms. Ortego, do you have a motion to amend our agenda this evening?
I move to amend the agenda to include item 7.05, approval of decision regarding student appeal case number 22-402, and also 7.06, approval of decision regarding student appeal case number 22-405.
Thank you, Ms. Ortego. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hundley. Any discussion? All right, and Ms. Aller.
Mrs. Ortego.
Aye.
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Ms. Cook.
Aye.
Ms. Hummel.
Aye.
Mrs. Henley.
Aye.
Mr. Dowell.
Aye. Thank you. Item 4.01, announcements and superintendent's report. Dr. Heron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My report this evening is a snapshot of summer school, engaging more than 1,000 students in instruction and laying a solid foundation for the coming school year. To enhance their summer school experience, summer school students have the opportunity to take some field trips. Students envision a bright future thanks to partners like Christopher Newport University. The CNU admissions team provides an informative campus tour to sow seeds of possibility with middle school students who can now imagine themselves on college and university campuses in the future. On another field trip, students learn at the Williamsburg Farm Camp that cultivates interest in agriculture, sustainability, and life sciences. We thank our team of administrators, staff, and teachers for making summer school an enriching and engaging learning experience for our students. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes my short report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Heron. Any board members with reports to offer? And just wanted to make known that Ms. Hummel is joining from a remote location, and that approval has already been granted by the board. All right. Nothing from the board. We'll move on to item 5, public comment. Dr. Beers.
It is at this point in our meeting where citizens are invited to address the board. Those citizens desiring to speak have submitted speaker cards to the clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. These speakers are asked to come to the podium when their names are called, state their names for the record, and direct their comments to the chair of the board. It is the board's interest and desire that all comments are heard and respected. Hence, the citizens are asked to not engage in applauding, verbal outbursts, or any other type of demonstration during the presentations. Personal matters are not considered in public meetings. Therefore, the board requests that all speakers refrain from making reference to specific individuals in any form or fashion. Though the board does not respond to your comments are heard and appreciated. Each speaker is allocated 1 minute and 30 seconds to make their presentation, and the board asks that you respect this time limit. Also, please be reminded that no time may be yielded to another speaker. Your acceptance and adherence to these guidelines will be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and my directions are concluded.
Thank you, Dr. Beers.
And our first speaker is Robin Pawlowski.
Hi, my name is Robin Pawlowski. I came here tonight, like I have been for many months, speaking to you about concerns in the school system, and I imagine some of you are tired of hearing from me. I guess I keep coming because, frankly, nothing is being done. It disturbs me when I talk to parents and they feel like their concerns are brushed off. So I'm here to propose an idea that would help our parents, teachers, and community get their questions answered. I propose that there be a school division citizen town hall meeting. I think it would be very helpful to have people in our administration be available to answer questions and help to understand why things are the way they are in our school system. Our current governor ran on a platform that emphasized the importance of parents being a part of their children's education, and I believe he won that race because of this focus. Parents want to know what is being taught to their children and be a part of the process. A town hall would be a great first step and would help everyone understand what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pavlovsky.
And our next speaker is Sean Tremblay.
Good evening, everybody. Once again, I'm kind of sticking to some normal themes that I've been discussing every time I come up here. One is the preservation of social emotional learning. Unfortunately, again, we've had more shootings, same MO, 18-year-old with a legally acquired weapon. These mass shootings are not going away anytime soon. So if we preserve social emotional learning, I think we can reduce violence among young people. And a reminder again that 12 youths, mostly males, commit suicide every day. That's 12 a day. That's a lot. We hear about veteran suicides, we forget the youth. So I see social emotional learning as being the only antidote for this, and not to discredit parents and their parenting and their values, but again, these kids are away from home for 6 to 8, maybe 9 hours a day. So we need to pick up that slack. And then again, I wanted to bring up school lunch. I think it's just a matter of being decent member of the community that we pay for the kids to eat. I mean, I don't see any logic in punishing parents for being unable to afford to feed the kids. I don't think it's a major burden on our community or on the taxpayer to just pay for lunches for all kids across the board. That's something we should look at doing. If the state can't do it, the federal government can't do it, I think our county can. And that's all I've got.
And our next speaker is Anne Marie Smith.
Hey guys, good afternoon. Mine's pretty short today. My just first comments on the policy IIAA-R, the regulation. Here's the regulation was updated. I was trying to go through the agenda items and just kind of review the red line versus the new. But the dates are the same on both, on the copy that was on today's agenda. And then if you go through the actual policy on board docs, that was different. So it was a little bit confusing, and there wasn't a red line copy of what was updated between the two. So I'm going to leave y'all both. I don't know if anybody here has both of those. But also, there were some really wonderful things in the original policy that I would maybe challenge it with being included in some of the new, for example, the authorship and reviewing the author and the validity of who authored some of the books. So anyway, there were some valid things that I'd like to see carried over. Also, I think one of the speakers talked about having a town hall where there could be more open dialogue between school board, where we could have some back and forth, and I think that would be a wonderful idea, and I think maybe even doing it twice a year so constituents could talk directly to their representatives would be a good idea. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention that I look forward to seeing WJCC teachers and staff donate their end-of-the-year bonuses that they just got to cover the delinquent payments accumulated over the next year by school-provided meals for those in need. Okay, thank you. Do I leave that with you, or?
And Andrew Kaysen.
Hello, Andrew Kaysen, parent and teacher. I'm just here to say that I think SEL is an important component in teaching, and it should remain in the strategic plan. Students are more than just test scores. They're not products. They're people deserving of dignity and respect. Teachers must continue to be supported in the classroom in order to reach students at more than just an academic level. For me personally, I feel like last year was informative in SEL, but I feel like more classroom supports like lesson plans and things like that can be used, could be given to teachers to help with SEL, specifically if it's for the content area in which they teach. I teach high school, so that would be helpful. So that way teachers aren't burdened with having to plan in SEL. They would have an example. So planning is very valuable to teachers. And if you were to save us some planning time, that would be super great. If SEL is going to be a priority, investing in the people who serve students are also going to be should be a priority. I was very pleased to hear some of the language of the last meeting about not just doing bonuses, but actually raises because it pays into the VRS. That's something that we would like. And with the increasing cost of living in James City County and Williamsburg, and with inflation altogether, it seems to be a shame that teachers are finding it harder and harder to live in the county in which they serve.
Mr. Case.
And that concludes our speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Beers. And to all of our speakers that came out today, thank you. Move on to item 6, proposed agenda items. 6.1, review authorization of signatures in the absence of the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item comes before the board annually, and basically it sets up those who will provide signatures when I am absent from the division. And tonight we're bringing forward Ms. Ewan, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Keever, Chief Operating Officer, and Mr. Walker, Assistant Superintendent of School Leadership, to sign in my absence.
Pretty trustworthy folk. Any of you not want to sign? It's a different question. All right. Any comments or questions for Dr. Herron on these assignments? Okay. We'll move on to item 6.02, review tuition rates for non-resident students for 22-23 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, this is another annual item that comes to the board that establishes tuition rates for non-resident students for the next year. And Ms. Ewan will present the information this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Herron. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. As Dr. Herron said, this is an annual item that we bring to you to approve the non-resident tuition rate for the upcoming school year. The tuition rates are based on the adopted fiscal year 23 budget, and the calculation is based on the same methodology as used in prior years. The recommended tuition rate for regular education is $12,399, which is an increase of $549 or 4.6% over fiscal year 22. And the special education tuition rate is recommended to be $21,348, which is an increase of $1,331 or 6.65% over fiscal year 22. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Ewing. So I just, this is fine. I'm completely fine supporting this, but when I look at the delta between, or the increased cost between tuition calculation per pupil and then the add-on amount for special education, which is essentially $9,000, and then I think about, which is a reflection on our actual costs, correct?
Correct.
And then I think about the fact that we have a higher percentage of special ed students in our population. So and than the state average, and we don't get any. Well, we get a very small percentage from the federal government to support special education services, and so it's just one of those things when I look at what how our funding is allocated, and I look at the fact that our neighboring divisions get millions of dollars more from the federal and state government, and then I look at our local composite index and how it requires more from our local governments, and then I see that we have a higher special ed population and a higher percentage of homeless students and a higher percentage of free and reduced lunch compared to our neighboring county, York. I just see those financial pressures, and for me, looking at this almost $9,000 more per student, it's just really stark on how much more that's costing us as a division to serve our students as well as we do. But there's a financial cost to excellent education, and I just wanted to mention that. So,
How many out-of-district students do we have on average year to year?
For the past several years, we've had one.
One. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We're anticipating having one next year?
Possibly, I'm not sure if we've received a request yet for this year.
Other questions for Ms. Ewing or Dr. Heron? Well, thank you for bringing this to the board to consider for our next meeting. Ms. Ewing. We'll move on to 6.3, review revisions to policy JN Appendix A, student fee schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is something we bring to the board annually. It's the student fee schedule associated with classes. And I think the one major change this year is the addition of fees for the veterinary science course, which was new last year. Dr. Worley, I believe, is going to present this evening tonight.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Heron. Each year we do update the board on Appendix A of Policy JN student fees, fines, and charges. This is not a policy change. This is our annual update of the fee schedule, which is Appendix A connected directly with the policy. For the 22-23 school year, we have one addition to our student fee schedule, the addition of Veterinary Science 2 to the 2022-23 program of studies has an associated fee of $15. And as a reminder, for driver's ed fees, they're set by the Virginia Department of Education in September, and we will communicate this with classes at the appropriate time. Students are eligible for fee waivers. Courses with fees are noted in the program of studies. The online version of the program of studies has a direct link to the fee waiver form for students and families. The link will also be made available on school websites, and hard copies of the fee waiver form are available in the school counseling offices as well as main offices at the high schools. Families will know about the fee waiver opportunity through our family newsletter this fall and through their initial login with View. Students and families will have to acknowledge the fee waiver form before making a direct connection with View on the initial login. Teachers will also remind students about this fee waiver option in class if a fee is associated with their class. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
Ms. Cook.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And if you don't have this off the top of your head, appreciate the answer later. But do you know how much the division brings in every year through student fees?
It changes on course enrollment, so we could get you an estimate or
Just an average over the last couple of years would be.
okay.
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't submit that question prior to the meeting, but I'm not a fan of student fees and wish we didn't have them, and I'm not a fan of pay to play, whether it's the arts or athletics at all, and I think it's a barrier to participation, and I think the demographic makeup of the students who participate in these classes bear that out, and it makes me sad.
Any others? Dr. Beers?
Yeah, I just have a question just for my own information. I'm looking under performing arts, instrumental rental, uniform rental. Do we get these from a third party, or do we have all those instruments? We own all the instruments, or do they rent them outside of the schools?
Typically, they rent them from us. Sometimes we may have to source them out,
But
yes.
we have them, so we have them. And why are we?
Well, there's an upkeep on the instruments, and it's a large, if the student doesn't purchase their own and they're renting it from us because they don't have their own instrument, it's a
Right.
rental for each year.
But if we own them, I guess I'm trying to understand.
Dr.
why we
Beers,
would-
the fee is mainly for the refurbishing and the cleaning of the instrument
Yes.
from year to year, so it's got to go and be reclaimed.
And that would be the
and
same thing with the uniforms.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
And on that question, how often are we replacing or recycling these instruments?
I think the life cycle of instrument, if there's a typical life cycle, but if it's working fine, we'll keep it. And then, the fine arts teachers are the masters of that, and they're able to tell us. And we do have a cycle for replacement for things like uniforms and rotating through for each school to replenish what they need and purchase new ones.
And
Ms. Ortega?
I think the number of years depends on the instrument
Yes.
and the usage by
Yeah,
school.
what's going on in the home, perhaps?
Yeah.
Ms. Ortega?
Some of us rent through Amory, right, or through an outside vendor. Is that the same thing?
Is that through different levels may do different things, but definitely at the high school they rent them. But
Okay.
yes, there's a blend of opportunities.
So you can rent, as a student, you can rent through the school or through Amory. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Ms. Hummel.
That's right. There is a path forward to students that have difficulty paying, correct? To waive some of these fees based on need?
Yes. Yes, we have a fee waiver form, we have several ways that they can acknowledge that, and we communicate that in class, on websites, and when the student first logs into View, and when the parent first logs into View as well.
Thank you.
So one more question, and I know you've answered this, that the division's answered this to individual families that have asked this via email, but parking for the semester and parking for the year, can you explain what that fee goes to and why that fee is important?
Sure. For the parking fee, 50% goes directly to the school to support school activity funds for students, and the other 50% does the same as a revenue piece for the school system to support directly our student activity funds. And again, we have that in place because it does support student needs, and we give at the school level, the principals will work with students, and they have voice and choice in what they would like to do, whether it's through an activity or whatever. It supports school needs.
Right.
Directly to students.
Thank you, Dr. Worley.
Yes.
Any questions for Dr. Worley? All right, sounds good. Thank you, ma'am. Move on to our action items. 7.1, approval of personnel actions. Can I have a motion there?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of personnel actions as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hundley. Ms. Aller?
Ms. Cook.
Aye.
Ms. Hummel.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye.
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Mr. Dowell.
Aye. Item 7.2, approval of minutes from June 21st of 22. Is there a motion there?
I approve that we approve the minutes from, where are they at? 6/21.
Thank you, Ms.
22.
22. Thank you, Ms. Hundley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hummel. I'm going to give it to Ms. Hummel. And any discussion there? Ms. Aller?
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye.
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Ms. Cook.
Aye.
Ms. Hummel.
Aye.
Mr. Dowell.
Aye. Item 7.3, approval of revisions to policy IIAA, textbook selection and adoption. Is there a motion for this item?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the revisions to policy IIAA, textbook selection and adoption as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have just a
Dr.
question or
Beers?
two. That first point, appoints evaluation committees to review and evaluate textbooks. Are we gonna use the same procedure that we've used in the past in order to generate the committee, or is the board gonna create the committee? There's a little, I'm confused there. It's not quite, and I guess the other point that I noticed is, farther down, creates procedures to ensure appropriate consideration of citizens' comments. Do we do that with everything, or are we just gonna do it with this?
Say that last one. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, where it says creates procedures to ensure appropriate consideration of citizens' comments. Do we do that in other areas?
So,
In other words, there's a lot of other things, that are said or considered where we may not have.
the way I take these green lines is
So what's
that,
that mean? Yeah.
yeah, the way I take these green lines is that we would ask Dr. Herron and her leadership team to appoint evaluation committees, or, and that last point you may create procedures to ensure appropriate consideration. They bring those items to the board for adoption.
But that's not in here.
It's not, right?
Basic,
And that's
yeah.
why we held, so that we could have this discussion.
Okay.
Ms. Young?
Look at, there's a regulation that goes along with this also, that answers some of Dr. Beer's questions, I believe.
Mr. Keever is here to address questions tonight. Ms. Ford is actually on vacation, so we can certainly address some of those questions. Mr. Keever?
Let me start by the second question you asked, Dr. Beers. The the 5 bullets as listed in the policy are actually requirements of state code.
Okay.
So state code stipulates that the school board will create opportunities for persons reviewing such textbooks, et cetera. So that's
I
a
understand.
code requirement. I think that to Ms. Young's point, the regulation itself speaks to the overarching process that would be utilized in order to have the board take action on and approve the specifics within the policy. So for instance, as Ms. Ford described at our last meeting, the intent would be to bring forward to the board a package of various items related to a textbook adoption to include timeline, criteria, et cetera, to have the board then approve that.
Was that, what you just said there, is that in the existing policy now?
Not as I've
That
just,
that that the superintendent brings a committee?
the existing policy as it's written right now is the red line version that you see in front of you.
Right.
The regulation that is current, so there, and the speaker this evening indicated the regulation you had was, she couldn't see the revisions. There is a current regulation that is on board docs on the live site, which is the way the regulation reads now. What you have in board docs under the meeting agenda item is the proposed revision to the regulation that would take effect should the board decide to approve the policy this evening.
Okay.
We haven't changed the date of the regulation until it becomes effective. The current regulation is still in effect until it is updated and
I
revised.
guess, does anybody, I guess I'm a little concerned that, simply because we have the regs, we can't, it's like, okay, how's this happen? It's not in there, it's not in the regs. And what we used to have was, the committee, the superintendent the committee is approved, but it has to be created.
I guess from my perspective, and then working with the policy committee, I think the regulation itself, as proposed and provided in the current meeting board doc scenario, walks through the specifics of the policy to indicate how we will achieve ultimate board approval of A, process, and B, textbook.
Okay, so I'm looking at. I'm looking at the.
Any other questions from Mr. Kiever?
This is the
Go ahead,
part
Dr.
that
Beers.
I don't see this, and maybe we don't need it. Committee membership, a textbook review committee will be formed with representation of the school board, division staff, administrators. We don't have that in there anymore, do we?
It is in the
In
regulation.
the regulation.
Yes, sir.
Committee membership.
Okay.
I will say something, Mr. Dow, if you
It's in the
want.
regulation, Dr. Beers.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Ms. Hummel?
Yeah, I just want to say we've gone back and forth, and I think this, having the language in the regulations and then having the broader language in our policies is covering all of our bases. And I think it's a really, it's a transparent policy with clear regulations of how it's going to be implemented. So I support the policy and just wanted to say thank you to the administration for all the work they've done on this so far.
Thank you, Ms. Hummel. Dr. Beers, do you see that in the regulation?
No, I don't have a problem with the policy. What I'm talking about is really operationally, how you're gonna do it, that's all. And there are two different questions, I guess. And I know in a lot of our policies, there's more specific language that sort of spells out how how something's gonna be done. That's all. That's the only question I had.
And I think it comes down to this board understanding what our responsibility is in accordance with policy. And then when we get these moments where a textbook committee is brought to us for adoption, we ask those questions with where it relates to our policy. And did the regulation fit our stated policy? the bigger conversation when we get down the road.
I guess I see two things going on here. One of them is we approve the committee, and then the other one is we approve what the committee comes up with,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's the way it's laid out.
okay, I just want to make sure that's clear.
Any others? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Keever. Zoller?
Ms. Cook.
Aye.
Ms. Hummel. Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye.
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Mr. Dowell.
Aye. Thank you guys for being thoughtful on that as we held that over for discussion this week and being prepared to have that conversation. Item 7.4, approval of award of contract for request for proposal 2022-1180. Is there a motion there? Fire suppression systems. Item 7.04.
Chair, I move that we approve award of contract for request for proposal number 2022-1180, fire suppression systems inspections, testing and maintenance services to BFPE.
Second.
Thank you to you both, and thanks for the second. Any discussion on this? Okay. Ms. Aller?
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Ms. Cook.
Aye.
Ms. Hummel.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye.
Mr. Dowell.
Aye. All right, takes us to board member comments.
7.05.
7.05. I've got it written here. Thank you. 7.05, which is, let me get there for a second. It is approval of decision regarding student appeal case 22402. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, with respect to student complaint number 22-402, I move to uphold the superintendent's decision.
And is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Young. And Ms. Aller?
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye.
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Ms. Cook.
Same.
Ms. Hummel. Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
And Mr. Dowell.
Aye. And 7.06 for appeal case number 22405. Is there a motion?
With respect to student complaint number 22-405, I move to uphold the superintendent's decision.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, I just wanted to say for the last motion and for this one, I recused myself from the conversation, which is why I abstained. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Ms. Aller?
Mrs. Ortega.
Aye.
Mrs. Young.
Aye.
Dr. Beers.
Aye.
Ms. Cook.
Same.
Ms. Hummel.
Aye.
Mrs. Hunley.
Aye.
And Mr. Dowell.
Aye. All right, now board member comments. We'll start with Ms. Hummel.
I just want to thank all of my colleagues for allowing me to join remotely. I appreciate the allowance of that, and I hope all of our faculty and staff are having a well-needed and deserved vacation. But at the same time, I also want to show my appreciation to all the people that are gearing up for summer school, in the midst of summer school, preparing for new classes, and I'm also really happy for our teachers getting those bonuses at the end of the year. So just wanted to throw that out. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hummel. Ms. Ortega?
I first off just wanted to thank staff and also the policy committee for all the work and the thought that went into the IIAA textbook selection policy that we just discussed. I think that it's a good plan and it's a good process, and it's going to lead to transparency and a good selection process. And so I know a lot of thought and effort and work went into that, so I just appreciate it. I hope that we can make sure that our curriculum review process mirrors that pretty closely, because I think that should be sort of in lockstep. Other than that, I don't have a lot of comments. I hope everyone is continuing to have a fun and safe and happy summer. That continues.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Ms. Hundley?
Also, thank you for the bonuses, and any more money comes our way, I'm sure the teachers would appreciate to have it. Second, I was one of those teachers that taught summer school every year and enjoyed it, and there are a lot of teachers that do, and I did stop by Laurel Lane because it was my favorite part of summer school is when Williamsburg Regional Library comes and the children get to pick a free book, and they can't believe they don't have to pay for one of those books. And so I got to go, and it just happened a kindergarten class was there, and they were super excited about getting their books. And they have the Bookmobile that's nice, where, the kids just are inundated with lots of books with different themes. Also, I just left today. I went for TNCC is no longer TNCC, but it's now Virginia Peninsula Community College. They had their unveiling down in Hampton today. So I went, and even though there's a name change, it's still, their mission is the same, 50 years of partnerships with, we do partner with them. Students from age 15 to 75 plus go there, and veterans and military people for a second career choice. So it was really a nice event. The weather was perfect, and we're just really excited about we don't forget that they're down there. We have one in our backyard, but a lot of our children also go to the one in Hampton. So I just wanted to say that was a pleasure to be able to take part of that today.
Ms. Hundley? Ms. Young?
Yes, I just want to thank the community for those people that came out and spoke tonight. I know it's hard to do that when you have a family and to come at this time. So I appreciate their comments. Hope staff is getting some well-deserved vacation time. Hope not everybody is in school. I was speaking to a friend of mine today, and she said, "Isn't it nice that teachers get their summers off?" I just started laughing because I can't tell you how many summers I spent in school getting recertified. And some of our teachers are doing that this summer. And fortunately, I think with the adjustment in the calendar, that makes it a little bit easier. You at least get through most of school before you have to start in class. So I just want to remind people that it's a nice thought that you get your summer off, but you don't always. And then I just want to encourage parents that I know it's summer, it's hard to fit in some time, but today Ms. Huntley talked about free books. It's a good time to sit down with your kids and read. We know that reading by the end of third grade is absolutely essential, so please don't miss this summer and get some fun books and sit down and read with your kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Ms. Cook?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank the speakers who came out to share their thoughts with us. One of them suggested that we may be tired of hearing from them, and I just want to assure everyone that we never tire of hearing from the public, and it's always appreciated. So I just wanted to say that, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of all of you, but I know you agree. And then also today I attended the City of Williamsburg's Economic Development Authority monthly lunch, during which the Hampton Roads Workforce Council was featured, and the CEO of that organization spoke and said a lot of really good things about the school division and how easy it is to partner with us on workforce initiatives, and that was just refreshing to hear. And so I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Dr. Beers?
Just one thing, really. It was great to see those pictures of summer school. I actually was involved in WJCC summer schools many years ago, where we worked with elementary school kids at Matthew Whaley School, and I'm just glad that we continue to do that. And it's just for a great example of seeing that learning continues on straight through the summer as they get ready for school in the fall.
Dr. Beers, yeah, on summer school, I found myself wondering when is graduation. I see it's on the 28th. Really looking forward to celebrating those accomplishments. They've worked so hard, and I'm sure I'm positive, guarantee they're listening to this. But to your parents or whoever else is listening, encourage your summer school student to keep up the good fight and finish strong. We'll be proud of them. And, one of our two of our speakers actually mentioned the potential of a town hall meeting, and that's kind of been echoed, put it gently, echoed amongst our board members. And maybe that's something that we can continue to explore and see how we can get that done in an efficient and productive way. Excuse me, collaborating with you, Dr. Heron, and your staff to meet that need of transparency for our school, our community. I want to move on to upcoming events. School Liaison Committee on the 13th of July at 8 here in room 309 at the Annex. Policy Committee tomorrow 9:30, meeting in room 309. And then summer school graduation on the 28th of July at Lafayette High School, 3 p.m. Then future meetings, August 2nd, closed session and work session on August 2nd at 4 and 4:30 respectively, room 300 here at the Annex. And then on August 16th, 6 and 6:30, closed session regular meeting, room 300 here in the Annex, and then James Blair Middle School Gymnasium. Am I missing anything on the calendar? Sound all right? Okay. Well, everybody, thank you for an early meeting, but a productive meeting. And Ms. Hummel, we'll see you next time. Okay. With
Bye,
that,
everyone.
Bye.
Hi.
meeting is adjourned. Thank you.